Hello, hello. I'm so excited to welcome you to this how-to video of how to stop your negative thinking, how to really challenge those thinking traps that we have to shift your mindset, reposition that mindset in more abundant, more expansive, more positive focus, intentional thinking. Okay. And I know that all of us struggle with negative thoughts. Like, that's not something that only some of us struggle with. We all struggle with negative thoughts at different points of our life, different points of our day. And it's so important to develop a skill set to how to stop those thoughts in their tracks before they set root in our lives, set root in our mindset. And then we start to go with those negative habits, those backsliding behaviors, the self-sabotage, the fear, the anxiety, the panic that prevents us from living life more fully on our terms. So I'm excited to show you the exact prompts that I use with my clients for them to make this transition. These are the exact tools. This is the exact things that I talk my clients through to teach them how to shift their perspective, shift their mindset, minimize their anxiety, minimize their panic, and break through fear, break through the worst case scenario, break through that rabbit hole of negative thoughts that stop them from taking action in their life, stop them from doing the things that they really desire. So, yeah, let's go. Alrighty, so a little bit about me if you're not familiar. My name is Brittany Fagan. I am a licensed therapist and a certified mindset coach. I have a lot of certifications underneath my belt, but at the end of the day, what I really focus on is helping women create new legacies of womanhood, empowered legacies of womanhood. And I use a very specific framework that combines all the therapy and coaching strategies and techniques, my intuition, my journey that I've taken, the journey that I've taken with my clients to create a framework that really works, right? That really helps women use conscious manifestation, embodiment practices, healing practices, like deep healing practices, and also mindset mastery. Because I know that those things together create a dynamic foundation that will literally shift you into, right? Empowered spaces, feeling really purposeful, feeling really intentional, courageous about life, an active pursuit of things that you desire, but also in the energy that allows you to really call things into your life that you really desire and step out of that mindset trap that has kept you limited. And this is really important, especially as women. Like, we are been taught to think and to do a certain kind of way, show up a certain kind of way. And it's not in authenticity with our truth, which is to thrive. And so, one of the things that is really critical for women to step into that abundant space is to have that mindset breakthrough, to work on how to reprogram our mindset so that our thinking changes. And when our thinking changes, our feelings change. Right? How we show, and then when our feelings change, our habits will change too. So it's a whole system that we are addressing when we work on mindset mastery and deep healing. So I love this work so much, and I love just being a witness to the testimony of women. And I truly believe that everything starts with an empower woman, and you're that woman, like you are her. And I can't wait to see you step into that highest self place I know is already residing in you. Because if you didn't know that, if you didn't want more, you wouldn't be here, right? So let's learn this skill set because I know it's going to be able to really help build momentum to how you want to live your life. So let's just kind of like rip the band-aid off a little bit here. Is so our thought process, how we think, is a direct reflection of how we see ourselves and how we think the world around us operates. And so what we want to do is shift that, widen that perspective so we can step out of the box, out of that, fake comfort box to really live a life that we want without the fears of it being taken away from us or blocked or anything like that. And so the way to do that is by improving our belief system, shifting our belief system so that what we believe about ourselves to be true is a direct reflection of our authentic code, the version of us that has risen, that has rose to the occasion, that is in limitless potential, and also the version of us that is our highest self, the version of us that's thriving, that is abundant, that is in the more, right? So we want to move out of that mindset of limitation that permission-based mindset we're waiting for, or where we're waiting for someone else to say that it's okay, right? To the point where we have this abundant mindset, this expansive mindset where we know we're deeply deserving and worthy of whatever it is that we want. And we're going to allow ourselves to show up in that space. So to do that, we do have to create space for our highest self. We have to create space for that version of us to be there. And there's a lot of things that go on in our daily lives that attack that when we have that. Like, there's those moments where, and I can imagine, like, for me, like, for example, I have these moments where I'm feeling super motivated and I have all these ideas for my business, all the things that I want to do, and I start putting things together. But then the kids get sick or something happens or my computer's not working. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, see, every time I try to do something, I can't do it. And then it stops me from getting back on there and moving through that resistance and making it happen. And so I know I'm not the only one that this happens to. And it can happen in any area of our life, whether it's our love life with who we're dating or who we're married to, and we still just can't seem to get on the right page with this person, right? It could be at, in our businesses, our careers, right? Where we just feel like we have to stay at a job because that's the only option we have, right? So I want you to know that negative thinking pops up in every aspect of our lives. And so we have to create a system for stopping it, challenging it, and repositioning it. Because what we want to do is train our mindset to think abundantly, to think more positively, to think beyond that, to have self-belief, right? And that is going to build our self-esteem. That's going to build our resiliency. That's going to build just like our faith in ourselves, our confidence, right? Because we are in active pursuit of our desires. So here are the things that I talk my clients through. Um, and again, like I said, I use these for myself as well. So I want to go through each of these questions and just talk it through with you so you can see how to really use this as a prompt for yourself. Yes, you can print this out. You can leave on your as a PDF and type over it as you have situations occur. But what I want you to do is get to the place where you remember a couple of these questions so that when you have a situation, you can start to question, ask yourself these questions, these prompts to shift your mindset in that exact moment. And so what I've learned is the more you talk these through, the more you use them, it becomes a new brain language. It becomes a new way of you communicating with yourself. And that's what you want. That's when it becomes the skill set because now you are talking to yourself differently. And once you do that enough, your mind automatically will do it. It does it on autopilot. So this is something that you do need to practice. So it becomes something that is just done anytime that mindset trap is triggered, anytime your emotions are triggered, every time that negative thinking comes in, you want to get to the point where your mind automatically starts doing this shift. Okay. So question number one, are these thoughts helping or hurting me? So what actually let's like take a step back. So I want you to go through this with like an example. So for example, so anytime you do this, you want to start off with the thought because honestly, we have different thoughts that will be in our mind at different times, but as you practice this, you want to start with something very specific. And that's how you're going to be using it, okay? Going forward is this specific thought that I have, because the self-awareness component is what's really critical here. Is as you build self-awareness, then you build self-awareness also of how that thought impacts everything else. And that's also what helps to motivate you and to also pinpoint the negative thought right at the root before the trickle down, the domino effect happens. So a lot of times people will come to me after the thought has dismantled things in their life. And I'm like, okay, let's get to how we even got here in the first place. And then we drill into that thinking, that belief system. So what I want you to do is be able to get to the place where you're able to drill in on what the exact belief system is. And that is where we do the work, the healing work, okay? So at first, it may be just surface thoughts. And then as you do this, you'll learn what the core belief is that you're holding on to for you to shift over time, right? And there are some other courses that I have that really work on that core root thing, like breakthrough fear. That's a good one. And so is manifesting your vision. That's another good one too. So there are some things that will help on that belief system shift, but as a skill set, I want you to just, as you practice this, to have that one thought that you notice. And the more you do it, you'll get deeper and deeper and deeper into the core. So let's give the example. So when we think about, are these thoughts helping or hurting me? So one thing I notice is that when we have negative thoughts, we hold on to them. Like we hold on to the belief system because there are some secondary gains. And when my clients say, what do you mean I have secondary gain that I want to keep this thought? Like, why would I want to keep this thought? But sometimes our thoughts are part of the ego part of our mindset, the self-preserver. And so our mind is telling us, hey, you're going to fail at this thing because it doesn't want to see us actually fail, right? But our highest self is saying, no, do it because you're expansive. You're about to thrive. You're going to take off, right? And those two parts of our mind conflict. So we could do an example of, okay, if I launch this program, I'm going to fail. Let's just do that. All right. So are these thoughts helping or hurting me? Right? So obviously, when we ask this question, we're really looking at a secondary gain. So part of it is the thought does help me because I don't ever have to experience failure by trying it, right? And that's important for me to know that I'm really afraid to fail. And then we want to know, why am I afraid to fail? Where does that come from? What is causing me to be afraid to fail? And then you want to think of, well, how does it hurt me? Well, me always thinking that I'm afraid to fail makes me not even try something out that would that I would love to do that could be my first up to $1 million year, right? And so it helps you in one way where it helps preserve you from failing and having those negative thoughts and a negative experience, but then it hurts in the other aspect where it doesn't allow you to even see what your potential is, right? And we can even think about this from the aspect of like, if I leave this job, I won't find another job. Well, it helps you in the aspect of, okay, it keeps you having income, but it hurts you because you could probably be somewhere else having a better job that gives you more money, right? You wouldn't even know because you haven't tried, right? So we want to see the pros and the cons of the thinking. Question number two is, what is the evidence that supports or refuses my current thinking? This is so awesome, is what evidence supports that I'm going to fail. So you want to think, okay, what have I done in the past or currently that supports me failing? And then what have I done in the past that supports me not failing, that supports me, accomplishing goals? So this is so amazing because you can always have this list for you at any given time. And you want to be able to have that list because you know what? When we try new things, it's a journey. And we need to be reminded that we have successes, that we have accomplishments, even when we feel like we're on a downhill spiral, right? Because that's the motivation and that's the pour back in. So looking at the evidence, the hard facts. Number three, am I misinterpreting the situation, being biased or jumping to conclusions? This is awesome. And I love this question because I do think that a lot of times um, our negative thoughts are like so immediate that we haven't even listened to what's going on around us. We haven't even really take a step back to really like assess the situation before we are responding. And that should let you know that that's part of that mindset trap, that you probably held on to it for a really long time, that your brain is already naturally just jumping to conclusions or naturally doing whatever it knows to do to keep you in self-preservation without even allowing you to go through the motions. So it is important when we have a negative thought to take a step back and like poke around at it. So like, what's this negative thought? Where does it come from? What's going on? Like, what are all the facts before you make a decision? So misinterpreting a situation too goes a lot with communication. When you have those negative thoughts, especially in relationship dynamics, whether it's, like a work related situation, whether it's with like a family member or a partner or whatever the case is, it is so easy to jump to a conclusion and misinterpret a situation because that thought, right, is attached to a really strong emotion from a trauma place, from a past situation that you've had. And so if you don't take a minute to take a step back, you won't recognize that you're just going on autopilot. You're responding on autopilot. So yeah. So taking that into account. The next question here is, does my thinking open or close the pathway for my highest self? Again, I love this question because your highest self is your best version. It is your highest self. It's the most purest form of you. It's your authentic code when it's given a chance to just rise. And so our goal should always be to be more in purpose, to be more in intention, to be living it more in passion, to be more self-satisfied, to be able to, you know, just live deeply abundant, like honestly, right? And so we want to always shoot for that. We will always want to be in that active pursuit of being the best version of ourselves possible. And so, does that thinking that you're having bring you closer or away from it, and why? And the why is so important here because you want to kind of get to that critical, like self-awareness part. And when I know how it's opening or closing a door for my best self, for my happiest self, my most joyous self, that can be a motivator to make a switch here, right? That could be a motivator to alter your thinking. Five, this is a typo, but does my thoughts align with my purpose path? Yeah, like here's the thing, like we all have a vision of ourselves, right? And forget that vision on a day-to-day basis. And when we are triggered, when that mindset trap is triggered and we start having those negative thoughts, those negative thoughts, like I said before, are attached to strong, intense emotions. And that's why they're there to protect us. But our purpose path is beyond infractions, it's beyond trauma, it's beyond bad experiences because it is aligned with our authentic code, our highest self. So it's the purest form of us living like our best lives. So we want to know, does that thinking align with that place? Because if it does not, then we know it's from a place of fear versus a place of actual intuitive guidance saying, hey, this is not a thing to do. Number six is, will my thinking lead me to my deepest desires? And it's kind of like your purpose path, but different because it's like, you have dreams, you have desires, you have things that you want to do with your life, right? And if they are aligned desires, then they are from your highest self. And so you want to know, does this thinking embody that version of me more or no? And again, why? Like we always want to get the why because that's the critical information to help shift the core belief. Seven, if I challenge myself to think more positive, what would I think instead? I love this question because you have all the answers. I'm a firm believer that your intuition has all the answers for you. So if I challenge this thought and I said, okay, how can I make it more positive? How can I shift this thought? Like, what would I think? How would I think? What would I be doing differently? So pull that from yourself, right? And that's important too, because I feel like at this point, when we have a lot of negative thoughts, a lot of us are afraid of our thinking. Like we don't know what to do. And that's why we get stuck. It's because we're overwhelmed with the intensity of the conflicting thoughts. And so so that means that we need to force ourselves to re-engage with our intuition and get the clarity. And this other question I love a lot too. What would a trusted person in my life or a stranger say about the situation? So I have them both because I think that you can get different feedback from the different people. So a trusted person who loves you, who cares about you, like how would they pour into you in this moment? And a stranger who has nothing to do with you, who's just looking at the outside looking in, what would they say? And I love that because it gives you the polarity there. Because it gives you the polarity. It gives you the sometimes the hard, not challenging thought, like get your act together type thing. But it also gives you the loving embrace and sometimes the support you need that encourages you to make the decision that you need to make. And also, it gives you the non-judgmental feedback where it's like, okay, I can trust sometimes a stranger over someone who loves me because the stranger gonna it's just looking at the situation for what it is, right? And number nine, which is the last one on here, is this thinking pattern habitual or true to the situation? My favorite. Well, one of my favorites. I like a lot of these questions. Um, is this thinking pattern habitual or true to the situation? This is it right here. I think out of all these questions, it boils down to this. Is this about self-preservation, or is this my intuition keeping it real with me and really letting me know what I need to do? So this is after you've answered all these other questions, on these other pages, it boils down to, okay, am I just going through the motions, doing what I've always done, or is something really different about this that I should really pay attention to and make a change? So these are the 9 really solid questions that I use with my clients, I use with myself. And I would just suggest at the end of the day is to pick a couple like that really shifted your mindset. So when you go through these questions and you use an example, right, and you just kind of work through them, there's going to be some questions that really gave you the mindset shift where you're like, oh, that was it, or that opened my mind, or oh my goodness, I know exactly what to do. And I want you to take note of those very specific questions because then you know that those are the questions you could always ask yourself to give yourself the mindset shift that you need to get out of anxiety, to get out of the panic, to get out of the overwhelm, to get out of the lack of clarity, to get out of the stuckness and see for momentum in the direction of your highest self, in the direction of your goals, in the direction of whatever you're working on, in the direction of building your joy to capacity. Okay. So, what I want you to do though is know that I'm here to support you, right? So here are a lot of ways you can contact me. I want to know how this was for you. I want to know if you have any questions, if you have a aha moment, if you did something, you're doing it and you felt like a block somewhere, like definitely send me a message. I want to know. I want to be here to continue to support you on this journey because I know it's not easy and you have to continue to practice, but also getting the support you need while you're practicing, while you're doing this is like gold, right? And of course, if you want to look at other courses that I have to go deeper into this, there's a site right there for you. If you want to work with me one-on-one and do this work one-on-one in a one-on-one coaching space, absolutely, I'm here for you. Um, to work on your mindset, to work on your habit creations, to work on really specifically drilling into your blocks and the trauma behind them. Like we can definitely go into a container for, 4 to 6 months, a year, and really do this deep-seated work. So yeah, I'm here for you. And don't forget, everything starts with an empowered woman and you. Bye.